He was never supposed to be here. That was the first thing people misunderstood about him. My name is Harriet Sinclair, and I want you to understand this clearly before we go any further. This is not the story of a criminal who got unlucky. This is the story of a man who believed in people when he should have believed in patterns. He believed that loyalty still mattered, that trust still had value, that doing the right thing would protect him. He didn't. He worked quietly. Not the kind of man who demanded attention, not the kind who posted his success online. He handled numbers, records, logistics. The boring parts of the system. The invisible parts. The parts no one notices until something goes wrong. He had a wife who believed in him. A son who watched him closely. And co-workers who smiled at him every morning and spoke his name with respect. Respect is dangerous. Convinces you that you are safe. He didn't know it yet, but his life was already being rewritten by people who knew exactly how the system worked, and how to break it. The robbery didn't start with violence. It started with silence. An empty hallway. A system login that shouldn't have worked. A door that opened without resistance. By morning, millions were gone. And by noon, his name was being spoken differently. Not with respect. With suspicion. He sat in a room where no one looked him in the eye. Questions were asked quickly, aggressively, like answers were already decided. Every word he spoke sounded wrong, even to himself. Someone had used his access. Someone had worn his responsibility like a disguise. And the people who knew the truth said nothing. That was the moment everything changed. Not when the money disappeared, but when the silence stayed. They never said the word guilty out loud. They didn't have to. The way they leaned back in their chairs said it for them. The way the questions circled instead of moving forward said it for them. The way the room felt colder every minute said it for them. Before the story goes any further, let me remind you who is telling it. My name is Harriet Sinclair. I've watched people lose everything not because they were careless, but because they trusted systems that were never designed to protect them. And this man sitting alone in that room was about to learn the same lesson. They showed him timelines, logs, charts, clean, polished documents that told a story he didn't recognize, but somehow had his name written all over it. Every access point traced back to him. Every authorization stamped with his credentials. Every missing dollar followed a path that ended at his desk. He tried to explain, slowly, carefully, like someone diffusing a bomb that had already gone off. He talked about shared passwords, about shortcuts the department had normalized, about warnings he had raised months earlier and emails that were never answered. They nodded. They wrote things down. They thanked him for his cooperation. Then they suspended him. Just like that. No courtroom. No verdict. Just a quiet walk out of a building he had entered every morning for years. When he got home, he sat in his car for a long time before going inside. He didn't know how to say the words yet. Not to his wife. Not to himself. Suspension sounds temporary. But shame spreads fast. By the end of the week, people stopped calling. By the end of the month, his name appeared in places it never had before. Internal memos. Whispers. Rumors dressed up as facts. Someone leaked the story. And the story did not say investigation. It said inside job. He watched his reputation collapse in real time, knowing the truth was still sitting comfortably inside the mouths of people who refused to speak. That was the cruelest part. Not the loss of income. Not the fear. But the realization that silence was being used as a weapon. At first he thought it was temporary. People were just busy. Everyone was being careful. That was the lie he told himself. The first friend to disappear was the one who used to call every Friday. No explanation. No argument. Just silence. Messages stayed unread. Calls went straight to voicemail. Then another. And another. People he had covered shifts for. People whose mistakes he had fixed quietly. People who had eaten at his table and laughed with his son. They vanished like they had rehearsed it. He started to understand something then. This wasn't fear. This was coordination. Someone had warned them. He noticed it in small ways first. Conversations that ended when he entered a room. Faces that stiffened when they saw him at the grocery store. A neighbor who once waved now stared at the ground like it might recognize him. The story had moved faster than the truth ever could. At home the tension grew heavier. His wife tried to be strong, but fear has a way of changing tone. Questions became sharper. Silence stretched longer. Bills didn't wait for justice. At night he replayed every conversation from the past year. Every meeting, every shared login, every moment where someone joked about how easy it would be to move money if they ever wanted to. He realized then that he hadn't been trusted. He had been useful. And useful people are easy to sacrifice. The headline came out on a Tuesday morning. It used his name. Not carefully. Not cautiously. Boldly. It said what everyone was already thinking but no one had proven. He stared at the screen, reading the same sentence over and over, like it might rearrange itself into something less final. His phone buzzed once, then stopped completely. By afternoon his son came home quiet. Too quiet. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. Children learn shame early even when they don't deserve it. That night his wife cried in the kitchen when she thought he was asleep. He stayed still in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to something inside him begin to harden. This was no longer about clearing his name. This was about survival. They took the house first. Not physically. On paper. Then the savings. Then the future they had planned without ever questioning whether it would still be there. He sold what he could. Gave away what he couldn't. And still it wasn't enough. When the charges came they felt almost ceremonial. Like the system was finishing a story it had already written. He didn't fight it yet. Not because he was guilty, but because he was tired. There is a kind of exhaustion that comes from screaming into rooms that refuse to hear you. He needed time. And time was something he no longer had. But what he did have was memory. And patience. And a truth that had been buried too deep for too long. That was when revenge stopped feeling like anger. And started feeling like purpose. Daniel Mercer had spent his whole life believing that if you stayed calm long enough, the truth would eventually rise on its own. That belief died quietly. It didn't shatter. It didn't scream. It just stopped breathing one night while Daniel sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at a stack of papers that no longer felt like his life, but like evidence collected against a stranger. Daniel Mercer. That was the name in the headlines. That was the name whispered in hallways. That was the name his son heard at school, spoken with curiosity first, then cruelty. He said the name out loud once, slowly, like he was testing whether it still belonged to him. Daniel Mercer. Sounded heavier now. He stopped calling lawyers who never called back. Stopped sending emails that disappeared into automated replies. Stopped explaining himself to people who had already decided what he was. Instead, Daniel started listening. Not to the noise. To the gaps. He noticed who had testified early. Who had stayed quiet. Who had benefited from the money that vanished. Patterns began to form. Not proof. But direction. And direction was enough. Daniel Mercer never wanted blood. What he wanted was memory. He went back through old systems he once maintained. Not hacking. Not breaking in. Just revisiting places he had built, places he knew better than the people now pretending they own them. Locks don't forget. People do. He remembered a colleague who insisted on shared access. Another who rushed audits. A supervisor who ignored warnings, then disappeared the moment things went wrong. Daniel wrote nothing down at first. He memorized. Because once you put something on paper it can be taken from you. But memory, when sharpened by loss, becomes dangerous. Daniel Mercer wasn't chasing revenge anymore. He was assembling a truth no one wanted assembled. The first person to panic wasn't the one who stole the money. It was the one who helped hide it. Daniel noticed the shift immediately. A sudden change in tone. A meeting rescheduled. A lawyer hired too late. The silence was cracking. But cracks make noise. Daniel's wife saw the change before anyone else. The way his eyes stayed awake even when his body slept. The way his voice flattened, like emotion had become a liability. She asked him once what he was planning. He didn't answer. Because some truths can't survive being spoken too early. When the arrest finally happened, it wasn't Daniel Mercer they came for. It was someone higher. Someone louder. Someone who thought they were untouchable. The news called it a breakthrough. Daniel called it late. By then the damage was permanent. His name was cleared quietly, buried under legal language and corporate apologies that never reached the people who had already judged him. Freedom came without celebration. And justice came without repair. Daniel Mercer walked past people who once avoided him. Now they smiled. It didn't help. Because the truth doesn't rewind time. It doesn't restore childhoods. It doesn't erase the nights his son cried quietly behind closed doors. Daniel was free. But freedom arrived too late to feel like victory. Daniel Mercer testified once. Calmly. Without anger. And when it was over, he walked away from systems he would never trust again. Some people said he won. But Daniel knew better. He didn't win. He survived. And sometimes, survival is the only revenge the world allows.